So today on the bench, and I was originally going to say we don't have a radio, but I guess technically you could say we do have a radio on the bench, because it's a wireless microphone. So it does receive and transmit. Both units, they have to talk to each other, so yeah, that's kind of a radio even. But this is the President Liberty microphone. Now do not go jumping over to eBay or Google and Googling it, or going to Amazon and looking to buy one of these in the United States, because as it is right now, this microphone is not available for sale in the United States. But, this is the big but, it could be. So I've got to figure out which one I want to use, but there's all kinds of like free polls that you can set up online. I need to pick one, and I'm going to make a poll, because President wants to know, is there enough interest in the United States in this microphone? And if there is, they will sell this in the United States. So if you are interested in one of these microphones, I'll leave a link down below. And just go to that and click the link. It'll take you to whatever page I find for one of those free poll or survey sites, and I'll make a little survey. If you're interested in this, go click yes. Yes, you're interested in the mic. They just want to know, just basically want to see how many people are interested in this, and if they can get enough interest, they will bring this to the United States, because this thing has actually been out for some time. It's been available overseas. Now, you'll probably look at this and say, well, Mike, that looks exactly like the Uniden microphone. Well, yeah, pretty much, with one big exception. And I'll show that when we unbox it. There is one difference to this that makes this microphone really nice over the Uniden microphone. For starters, if you're using a President radio, well, of course you want a President mic. But this has an advantage, because I've frequently had people ask me about the Uniden microphones. Can it be used with another radio that does not have a 6-pin microphone? Because this, I think it even says it somewhere on the box. Maybe not. Figment of my imagination. Must be a figment of my imagination. I thought I saw a 6-pin mic on this box somewhere. Yeah, I'm imagining things. Oh, no, there it is right there. Knew I wasn't going crazy. Compatible with all President radios having a 6-pin microphone. Of course, the Uniden one, basically the same thing though, but for the 6-pin mics. You can use the Uniden microphones with non-6-pin, non-Uniden radios. It's some work though. The biggest problem there is, you have to remember, this microphone needs to have the receive audio from the radio, because this radio is not just a microphone. If you're 100 meters away, and actually I'm sure this is going to have the exact same range as the Uniden, they have a surprisingly good range, well over 100 meters in my experience using the Unidens here. But you have to remember, the mic is transmitting your voice when you key the mic to the base unit, which then is going in the mic jack. But the audio from the receive of the radio, so when you turn the radio on, you turn the volume up, the volume comes out of the speaker. Well, that sound coming out of the speaker in that radio isn't going to do you any good when you're 100 plus meters away from the radio itself. So it has to send that audio to the microphone base, which then transmits the audio to the wireless handset. And in that microphone is actually a speaker. So there's a microphone element and a speaker, so you can actually hear the sound. So the Unidens do that through the mic jack. This President is different. There's 2 wires. That's why I've always wanted to get my hands on one of these, just for that reason. And I can tell you right now, President, I'm sure they're going to watch the video I'm making on this. I would probably buy, honestly, like 5 or 6 of these things if you had them in the United States. Just because I can use this with other radios a lot more easily. Now, it's still going to take a little bit of work to do that, but the big advantage is you have an audio in jack. So you've eliminated the problem with trying to get the audio from your radio. Where are you going to tap into it? Are you going to tap in at the speaker jack, or do you tap onto the wiper on the volume control or somewhere? You don't have to worry about that. You just plug a cord into this, plug that into this external speaker jack on the back of the radio, you're hooked. The only thing you still will have to provide to this is power. This thing, of course, needs electricity to operate, so I might do that at the end of the video. I'll actually take the plug apart and show you as far as wiring goes. If you wanted to use one of these with another radio, where you'd have to supply power. And honestly, if you were going to do that, probably the easiest thing to do, if you're going to make a permanent installation, use this permanently with a radio, and it's not a President, probably the easiest thing to do, honestly, would be just put a 6-pin mic jack in your radio and hardwire a 6 volt, or not 6 volt, but hardwire a voltage source at the mic jack, so you don't need a bunch of wires running, feeding in the back here or doing it any other way. You just plug this into your radio and it'll work just like when you're using it with a President, because President radios, just like the Unitons, have voltage present at one of the pins on the mic jack. So let's get done unpackaging it here and see what all else it comes with. Like most President stuff, comes really well packaged. You do love their bags. Okay, so we have a charger cord, so USB, does come with a cigarette lighter adapter, so for charging, because the wireless, and actually there's the battery right there, we'll need to stick that into the microphone, because it is wireless, so it's got to have a battery. So yeah, you charge it with the little mini or micro, I can never remember what the hell they're called, mini or micro, but it's the small USB, goes over to a normal USB, so it does include the adapter, that's nice. And what else do we have? Oh, there's our belt clip. And of course, if I can get it out of the bag, the microphone. Oh, and 2 screws, actually 3 screws, you can give you an extra. Oh, actually there are 3 holes, 1, 2, 3, but yeah, screws to mount the thing. So I do like these clips that's for the microphone. You can just drop in, but they snap in if you push down in far enough, and then to get it out you have to turn the microphone over. So once you snap the microphone in, it's locked in. It's not coming out. You have to turn the microphone upside down and then it slides out. There's just, if you look, there's a little, the way this thing locks on those tabs there. So yeah, you don't have to worry about it falling off of your belt. So let's get the battery installed here. Or actually, let's not put the battery in. Let's take a look at the insides. I think everybody's pretty used to me doing teardowns. If we're gonna look at a product, as Dave Jones on EEV blog would say, don't plug it in or don't turn it on, tear it apart. That's my horrible Australian accent impression. So, of course, as small as this is, yeah, it's going to be surface mount. Absolutely no ifs, ands, or buts. That last screw. They all come out? Oh, yeah, it's right there. Fell out on the bag. Okay. So, yep, as expected, all surface mount. Yeah, with the exception of larger component like 1 electrolytic capacitor. But yeah, pretty much other than, well, actually 2. Other than 2 aluminum electrolytic capacitors and the switch, looks like pretty much everything else. The crystal's probably also through hole, but it does have the, or no, is that on a tab? Nope, that's actually a surface mount crystal too. Wait for it to focus there. So yeah, it's actually soldered on either end. So yeah, all surface mount, nice, clean design. Don't see any bodge parts anywhere on there. Get this apart the rest of the way. See what's on the other side. Not expecting much. Yeah, just the microphone element right there. So yes, the microphones, honestly, if you look at a lot of even wired microphones nowadays, when you open them up, you're not going to find a big honking microphone cartridge anymore. They're going to be a small, hold on a second. Okay, sorry about that. I had a phone call. That was actually Peter from Australia. He's here in the United States buying out the U.S. basically inventory of old CB radios. He's buying a couple thousand CB radios, and he bought a drag car out in California. He bought, what was that, a 90, or not 90, either, God, I can't remember, 74 or 75 Dodge Charger 440 in Spring Grove, just straight up the road from me. Yeah, he's over here. He's filling up a few sea containers to ship back to Australia. He's dropping off some external hard drives to me with radio information. So I'll have to cut this off here shortly and go grab them from him. But anyhow, yeah, not much on this side anyhow. Most microphones nowadays, modern ones, don't have big old large microphone cartridges like you're used to, the big dynamic microphone cartridges. They all use these little electric microphone cartridges, so yeah, that's what's inside that grommet. And then there's your speaker. Looks like it's actually meant to be easily replaced. That's rare, man. That is extra expense if I ever saw it. Think about that. Everything you ever see with these little tiny speakers, what do they usually do? Glue them in the whole way around the outside edge. This thing's actually serviceable. Flip that little bail out, fold it out, and the speaker will fall out. That was a lot of extra expense to go through that. That's actually, I like that. Matter of fact, I'll see if I can get a few of the extra speakers, because yeah, any speaker can go bad eventually. But yeah, nicely made. There's a big, huge rubber button to push that tiny little switch down there. But nice big chunky button. So, like I say, good build quality, nice board. So, wouldn't expect anything else. One thing I like about President, they do have, God, which was up and which was down. Oh, I've done screwed up now. I have to look at the picture. Oh, the picture doesn't have the buttons. What the hell was at the top? Positive. I'll put the buttons in backwards. I'll be pushing up and it'll be going down. Pay attention, dummy. I'll have my volume controls, and that's what that is. The up-down buttons are the volume for this handset. So you hook the base unit up to your radio, and then to use this. Now, when it's hooked up like it's supposed to be, not through a speaker jack, but when it's actually hooked up to a proper President, where it's sending the audio through this, you don't have to set the, if I remember correctly, I have to think about that, you don't have to actually set the volume on the radio. It's taking it where it's actually picking that audio up. That level doesn't change inside the radio. I'll have to confirm that, because there may be some other differences to this over the Uniden, and it's been, honestly, several years since I had one of those Uniden microphones torn apart. So, now we'll get our little battery plugged in here. And just in case you're curious, this battery is a standard size battery. So if your battery ever wears out, which they do, they're going to go bad. It's just a fact of rechargeable batteries. It's going to go bad. Luckily, it is a nickel metal hydride. It's not a NiCad battery. But you can pick these things up pretty much anywhere. It's the same batteries that are used in most cordless phones. Very standard battery pack. Dual AAAs with a standardized plug. So yeah, if these do ever go bad, and I actually even stock this style plug, I'm going to see which way to plug it in here. So at some point in the future, when the battery does decide to wear out, like I say, it's going to happen. It's just, like any battery, they only last so long. It is replaceable. Does it have any charge on it? Looks like not. So it looks like we're going to have to charge her up here. I'll go ahead and get this plugged in, and it'll probably actually be a good time for me to, that way we can let this charge for a little bit. It should only take Peter a few minutes to get here, because he was staying at a local hotel in Gettysburg, so I'm sure he paid some outlandishly large price for a hotel because he was staying in a tourist town. The power supply, and we're charging. Yeah, now we got a bleep. So well, actually, while that's, doubt he's going to get here that fast, we can go ahead and at least pop the back of this off in the meantime. And basically what you see in here shouldn't, should be fairly around the same as what you saw in the hand piece itself. I get all the screws. 1, 2, 3. Come on. Okay. Yep, so we got a button. This one has 3 aluminum electrolytic capacitors. Does have a ceramic cap. It's going to have the power supply line on it, so it's going to have some protection here. Does have a through-hole transistor, and that's probably, well, no, that wouldn't be, no, that's the speakers over there. I was thinking maybe for audio amp circuit, but the speakers in this unit. So that might be for voltage regulation. That might be part of a voltage regulation circuit. So same thing, processor under there. No crystal. Just got to be a crystal. Oh, there it is. I say there has to be a crystal on here somewhere. It's hiding underneath the RF shield there. But again, good solidly built little unit. Nice board, good quality. Looks well laid out. No bodge parts on it. So I'll get this put back together. Go meet Peter here for a few minutes so he can hand me the, I think it was a terabyte external hard drive he brought along from Australia with all kinds of good service information. And, ooh, I forgot to put in the light pipe. Fell out. Where does that go? It should be right there, it looks like. Boink! Yeah, gotta have our LED light. See, a little light pipe there. But, yeah, like I say, where does this go? And like that. But he brought the big terabyte hard drive, external hard drive with a bunch of service information for me. And at some point, going to have a few videos, some radios he gave me. Australian radios. All sideband, AM sideband radios. But radios that you would have never seen in this country because they weren't, FCC certified radios. They were radios for in Australia. So, but okay, there's that back together. So let me go meet Peter. He should be pulling in here any minute now. Go talk to him for a few minutes, and then I'll come back. This should have enough charge on it to use it a little bit. May even go outside. We'll do some portable filming. I'll take the camera off the mount here and walk down the end of the driveway and just see how far of a range. But yeah, the unit and microphone, I could reach anywhere on the property where I'm at here. Building's about in the center, and I could reach anywhere at the outside edges of 15.5 acres. I had range with those. So I'm assuming it's going to be pretty much the same with this one. Which would be, like I say, this is going to be nice because now if I want to, I'll just use this microphone with that radio, and if I want to go away from the bench, I've got my radio with me. Now, you can't change channels. It's only volume buttons, and then this is your pairing device. And then also, if you lose your microphone, this has a find function that will alert on the, so this will be making sound in case you drop this thing somewhere, which is nice because you know as well as I do, especially if you're going to actually be using this out and about, there's always a possibility, just like your cell phone, you can lose it. So it is nice that it has the find function, so you can, this will put out an alert tone so you can try to track it down. But, and we'll see, like I say, actually how this little critter works. So I'll be back. Okay, so a couple hours later, yeah, Peter stopped by, and yeah, we ended up jabber-jawing for quite a while. Had to hook him up with a radio, so he can't be in the U.S. without, he's got a rental car, and of course he's from Australia, so, and all the radios he's got, well, they're sitting in a sea container, so I hooked him up with a radio. I gave him a President Ronald and actually a President antenna too, so just hooked up with him and actually was just talking to him using this microphone and that radio a few minutes ago. So I'm back in here now, got this hooked up. It's charging. Actually had it unplugged before, but plugged it back in, but it's does work wirelessly. It does have enough charge to work for quite a while without it now. And as you can hear, it is receiving. And like I say, since this is hooked up to a President radio, I do not need to use, we turn the squawk box down there, I do not need to use this external jack because it's being fed the receive audio through this cord from the mic jack. Now one thing that's kind of curious is, just out of curiosity I wanted to check, because they were kind enough, it really wouldn't have needed it, but it helped me very quickly narrow down. I was just curious what frequency range this thing operates on. And it operates between 1.88 gigahertz and 1.9 gigahertz. So I thought I'd just take a look at that really quick. So I've just stuck a little short whip antenna and RF jack 2 right there. Zoomed in up here. And actually it looks like I'm probably off screen right now. Yeah, because it jumps around. I wouldn't exactly call it frequency hopping, but you'll see the data down here, because this is digital, so it's not like you're going to be looking at an AM modulation or FM. You have to remember what's being sent back and forth through this little guy is digital data. It's been digitized, but originally it was up here, and if I turn the radio off and turn the radio back on, it may be over here, and then at some point it'll switch frequencies. So I'm not sure what, you almost have to play around with that one day just out of curiosity to see exactly how this thing's picking frequencies. But yeah, it does seem to switch back and forth. Maybe it's looking for the cleanest signal, or with the least amount of interference. But I'll actually turn the radio off. So there's the radio off. And you can see it'll spike a few times. It's kind of like the microphone trying to see what's going on, and then eventually it just gives up, and it's completely shut off now. There's nothing going on there. And now if I turn the radio back on, and you'll see, okay, if it's starting to communicate, the little light. Actually, I think it's already connected again. Yep, it is. I'm going to turn it off and back on one more time. And one thing that's kind of interesting is I've turned the radio off, and you can see there was still data being sent there. It's kind of like the microphone's going, hey, what happened? Where'd the signal go? So it hunts for a little bit and then gives up. And it actually, the microphone just beeped now, so it realizes that it's lost signal, and that's because the unit is turned off down there. If I turn the radio back on now, and you can see there the signal's back. And there, it just came back in. But you can see now the frequencies, turn the volume back down there, you can see the frequency, all of the information was being sent down here before, and it's up here now. And I've got the span set to, 40 megahertz right now. So yeah, it does switch back and forth. These units do not apparently stay on one fixed set of frequencies. And it looks like there's probably going to be a transmit and a receive line, because this is sending and receiving at the same time, same as the microphone, so it's two-way communications. And it looks like there's some other little spurs down here. So I might actually have to investigate that, just play around with it a little bit more one day. just for curiosity's sake. But yeah, it works good. Like I say, it's nice because wireless mic. Now, the audio that comes out of the speaker actually isn't bad. It's not going to be obviously as good as something that's got a 4-inch speaker or bigger. You saw how big the speaker was in this thing. It's like this big around, but it's actually not bad. I'm not sure how the audio is going to show up in the camera, but it's not tinty. It does have bass to it. See if I can find something where there's just one good strong signal on. I'm just changing channels here. God, does anybody speak English in this country, not mush? Lord. There's somebody that actually knows how to talk. But in any case, yeah, it sounds exact. The sound quality is exactly the same as the unit and microphone. Like I say, it's basically the same thing. It just has the advantage of having this external audio input. And actually, what they describe in the manual for that, syncing. Oh, one last little thing before I forget. Remember, I said this does have the fine feature, so that's what it does. This microphone, basically until the battery dies, is just going to sit here and beep like this. until you pick up the mic and push a button. Be the PTT, this button, the volume buttons, but push any button and that'll stop it from doing that beeping. But that's the find function. So yeah, if you ever drop this thing, all you got to do is use the find sync button here, and it'll turn the beeper on in this thing, and it'll beep until either the battery dies or you push a button on it. Okay, let's see. What did they say about the cord? Why am I looking at this through the camera? Okay, I had to pull it back here. Yeah, note. To hear, let me zoom in here. Yeah, to hear reception sound in the wireless microphone, depending on model of your CB radio, it may be necessary to connect the audio cord. In this case, plug it in between the audio plug of the cradle and the external speaker located on the back side of your CB radio. Be sure to properly adjust the volume on your CB radio. Now that's the one thing to remember when you're not using this. If you hook it up to a radio that it can be directly driven from, like the President Lincoln 2 Plus that I'm using, you don't need to adjust the volume on the radio at all. I've got the volume actually turned down the whole way currently on the radio, and you can see the volume's fully functional. But if you feed the audio in through this jack, you're going to have, because that's now coming out the external speaker jack on the back of your radio, it's not being picked up at the point like where this radio is sending the signal out. It's before the microphone gain control, where that audio is being sent out to this cradle. So with a radio, if you have to use this cord, you're going to have to turn the volume up on the radio so there's enough signal level to send to this thing, so it can then digitize it, send it to this radio wirelessly, and then this can then convert it back from a digital to analog signal and then go through an audio amp to go to the speaker then. But yeah, so nice little mic. Actually, I need to get the pin out. Let me just pause the video for a second. What I want to do is get the pin out for this cord. I told you I'd let you know what pin. So if you wanted to use one of these base station or these wireless microphones with basically any other radio, like I say, you don't have to worry about the audio. That has always been the killer with the Uniden microphones. If you wanted to use one of these wireless mics with any radio other than the Uniden radio, or actually this President here, you had to tap into your audio circuit somewhere inside the radio, or the mic cord. But like I say, you had to do something to get that audio into the base unit. This comes pre-made up. That's fantastic, but you do still have to feed voltage to this, because this thing does not operate off of oxygen. It needs electricity, a LED light, it's receiving and transmitting, so it does need a power source. So let me grab a service manual really quick. Actually, I have it written right there on the front of the service manual. Power supply is pin 6. So, and I'm not going to lie to you, I can't remember what is the voltage on pin 6 on one of these radios. I do know it's different than the Unidens. That's one thing I actually did check before. These radios have more voltage on the mic jack than the Presidents do. Or I mean the Unidens, excuse me. Okay, so what did I say? Pin 6. That should be the center pin. Let me put my probe tip protector on there so I don't short anything out. Yeah, basically line voltage. I don't know. You can't see that. Utility, system, display, invert. Now you might be able to see it. But yeah, these microphone jacks on pin 6, they supply, so yeah, 13.42 volts. So yeah, the 13.8 coming into this, there's going to be a little bit of loss throughout the radio and whatnot. But yeah, so basically they're supplying, your main input rail voltage. If I could hold the probe on that pin without moving. So yeah, somewhere between 12 volts and up is what you're going to want to send to this little guy. So yeah, that would be it. If you wanted to use this base with another radio, you're going to need to you know, the normal, actually I've got it written, I actually stuck it to the front of the service manual. This is the pinout for a normal President microphone, like for the, actually this is the one for the, you know, President Lincoln. You can see the audio's on pin 1, receive is on pin 2. We're not going to pay attention with the transmit up-down buttons because, of course, the wireless microphone doesn't have transmit up-down buttons. Don't worry. So you don't need to worry about pin 3, pin 4. You can see pin 5 is ground. Actually, you do need to worry about pin 3. That's actually used... I stand corrected. Pin 3 is used for transmit, and it's the up-down. So when the radio's in receive, it's actually looking for either a ground or a voltage source there. You see there's a Zener diode here, and there's resistors in this. That's actually how you change channels with this. But yeah, so your modulation, receive, transmit, nothing on pin 4. Your ground goes to pin 5, and then you would be supplying voltage on pin 6. And that just finally gave up. It just went because I have it unplugged. It's unplugged from the radio. But yeah, you would apply your voltage to pin 6. So if you want to use this with another radio, here's your audio input right here. You would need to, my suggestion, honestly, probably the easiest thing to do, or at least it's going to be the most cosmetically neat way to do the modification, would be put a 6-pin mic jack on your radio. Wire up pin 6 to voltage, you know, correctly wire your modulation, your transmit, receive, and ground wires, and then add a voltage to pin 6. Then you can just plug this bass in. Because odds are, if you're using something like this, it's going to be hooked up full time. It's not like you're going to be using it one day and you're going to go back to a regular hand mic and then plug this in, and then a base station mic, and then back to this. You're probably going to stick with this. Now, if you don't want to do that, if you want to leave your radio, let's say a 4-pin microphone, I suppose you could make up an adapter to hook this up through a 4-pin jack. You know, just use a normal like 6-pin to 4-pin adapter plug. But you would have to then run a wire in from the back side here into this jack to apply voltage to pin 6. So you wouldn't really have to apply it to pin 6. You could disconnect the wire off of pin 6 and apply that to the wire that you would then install your, but then you're going to have a wire. That's the problem. Doing it that way, you're going to have a wire running to a voltage source somewhere. You'd have to get that wire into the radio. So yeah, honestly, the most cosmetically and the easiest way to do this is going to be stick a 6-pin mic jack in your radio and just wire up the voltage source to pin 6. But there it is, the President Liberty microphone. Like I say, it works perfect with President radios without any modification. But if you wanted to use it on a Galaxy or a Ranger, or shoot, your ICOM or your Kenwood, I mean, it's just a microphone. It just needs audio, receive audio input, and voltage to power this thing. So this thing will work with any radio you can think of. You just need to make sure you attach the wiring correctly to it. But it'll work out of the box with all the President radios. And like I say, if you're interested in President bringing this to the United States market, click on the link that I'll put in the comments, you know, or whatever the heck it says right underneath this video window. I can't even remember. I'm not looking at a YouTube page, but the Show More tab or whatever the heck it is. I'll have a link there to go to some survey site or something like that. I'll make a little survey or a poll page, whatever you want to call it. And if you're interested in these, click it to let President know. And, you know, I'll let them know when the video goes up, and then they can keep track on the polling. And I guess if it hits a magic number, they'll bring this to the United States. So, you know, I personally could use several more of these. I'll leave this, I'm probably going to leave this one here at this bench, but yeah, I can think of lots of radios I would use this with. And the only thing that's ever really prevented me from using these or not these, but the Uniden microphones with other radios was just because hooking up audio to them was such a pain in the butt. President has eliminated that problem. President gave us that out of the box. Not only did they give us the jack, they even include the cord to hook it up to your radio. So, yeah, I can think of several radios I would use one of these on. I can just see me walking around outside now with 5 microphones hanging off my belt. But anyhow, there you go. President Liberty microphone. let President know. That's basically what this video is. And yes, this microphone was provided to me by President. They sent this to me. I did not buy it because obviously it's not for sale in the United States. But if there is enough interest, they will bring it to the U.S. So, you know, let your voice be heard.